Yo guys, what's going on? Blossom's back. Welcome back to another episode of Top Drives. Now, a couple of days ago, I made a video talking about the worst cars that have gone up in rarity. The ones that didn't make any sense at all. And you guys enjoyed that, and I really appreciate that. So I am continuing the series. It's just a two-part series, right? When we talk about the worst, we also got to talk about the best, right? So in my opinion, these are going to be, I'm going to be highlighting the cars that have gone up in rarity that made the most sense, okay? So these are the best cars that made the most sense, if that makes any sense. And the reason why I want to put an emphasis on that is because there's a disclaimer that I want to talk about. It's not about being the best. It's just about being the best that makes the most sense, if that makes sense. It's about being competitive, okay? So this isn't a list where I showcase cars that are amazing, blossom choice. No, this isn't a list about that. This is just a list that highlights the cars which, in my opinion, I feel deserve the upgrade, deserve going from one rarity to the next, because it is able to tread water, because it is able to hit within its weight, or it's able to even shine. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. So starting us off with today's list is the Peugeot 306 Maxi. This car always deserved to be an epic in my opinion, but if you played Top Drives in the past couple of years, you would know that it was introduced to Top Drives as an epic, as an RQ69, actually before that even as an RQ23, I believe, dropped down to an ultra rare, much to everybody's surprise, and it basically dominated the ultra category for its entire stay there, and then it's gone back up to an epic. Now, usually when, a car moves up in rarity, when it goes from an ultra to an epic, or a super rare to an ultra rare, people see that as a nerf, right? It's a car that isn't really that great. Maybe it became like, the best within its rarity to the worst within its rarity. But, these cars, like the Peugeot 306 Maxi, they don't really suffer those consequences. This moving back up to an epic is completely okay, and it still is a beast. So here it is compared to some cars within its RQ, like the Hyundai Veloster, the Mazda 3 TCR, the Renault Megane, for example. And as you can see, the Peugeot 306 Maxi is holding its own, beating 69s, 70s, and cars below and equal and above its RQ neighborhood, right? So it's the best car for the hairpin road and the indoor karting. As long as you leave the Maxi for those two track sets, it's going to be a fantastic little servant for you. Now, because hairpin is its speciality, I would recommend going 323. My personal Peugeot 306 Maxi is also 323, and that's the main reason for capitalizing on the hairpin road, its strongest strength, if that makes any sense. So it's a very, very good car. I mean, when you think about it, it's beating epics that have never even been ultra rares, like the Mazda 3 TCR, the Hyundai Veloster, and the Renault Megane. The Volkswagen Golf GTI, however, that used to be an ultra rare, and as you can see, it actually is doing pretty well there too. So yeah, the Volkswagen also is a honorable mention. It is a very good car that went from ultra rare to epic and basically deserves that upgrade, right? Now, moving on is the Caterham 7 270. This thing is a one-track wonder. It's good in other twisty tracks as well, but the thing that really makes it shine is how well it performs on the slalom test. So very much like the Peugeot that we just saw, 323 is the way to go. I'm pretty sure there is a better version of 323, probably like 789, 879, whatever that may be. If you want to go the extra mile, you can do that. I can't be bothered. 323 is good enough for me, and it is fantastic on the slalom. I'm comparing this as an RQ70 to the best center tire epics you can get in the game. Things like the Hyundai Ioniqs, the BMW 330D, the Cadillac CT6, and even the RQ76 Caterham Super 7 2000 that you see over here. And as you can see on the slalom test, the Caterham is second to none. Absolutely fantastic. Not that good on the other twisty track sets, but then again, I'm comparing it to cars that are 6, 8, and 9 RQ higher. If I were to compare the Caterham 7 270 to other center tires that are RQ 70 and 69 and even 71, I think it will do a lot better on those twisty track sets. But what I really want to highlight here is just how good it is on the slalom. It is absolutely fantastic. You just gotta know where to use it on, man. Next one, this one strikes close to home. This is my favorite car of all time. It is the 1969 Dodge Charger RT, It is the coolest car in the entire world, and it will always remain that way in my opinion. The Charger RT. Here's the thing about this car. It used to be a rare, and it went up to a super rare, and when it was a super rare, it was amazing. It was Blossom Choice. That being said, it did get a nerf. It got an MRA nerf, so you know, it's not as strong on the drags as it used to be when it was a rare. That being said, I still think it deserves to be a super rare, and the main reason for that is because it is still beating other super rares within the quarter mile and the half mile, beating cars like the Dodge Charger Daytona, the Maserati Bora, the Virage Volante, the Ghibli. The only issue here is that the Charger are beating cars, aside from the Charger Daytona, the Charger RT are beating cars that used to be rare, and they all went up to super rare. And cars like the Aston Martin Virage Volante, for example, I would actually include in the other list of cars that didn't even deserve to go up in rarity, right? That being said, it is beating cars like the Dodge Charger Daytona, which is still pretty impressive, and it is beating the best of the rares right now, which is the Plymouth GTX, also beating the AC, which I didn't put in this inclusion. That being said, like I said, the Charger RT was a lot better back in the day. Before it got its MRA nerf, it was beating things like the Plymouth Hemi-Cuda and the Dodge, not the Dodge, but the Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. Unfortunately now, the Hemi-Cuda and the Firebird are going to be beating the Charger, which honestly annoys the hell out of me. I don't think it should. But that being said, I still think that it deserves its status as a super rare, and that's what this video is about. Cars that went up in rarity, but deserve that new status. So, Charger RT, not as good as it used to be, but still a good car nonetheless. Moving on is the Renault Twizy F1. Now, the Renault Twizy F1 used to be an RQ9, as you can see in that photo. It used to be an RQ9, used to be an uncommon, and from an uncommon, it became an RQ27 when they changed up the RQ, and then an RQ29, and then it moved up to the rare ranks, now as an RQ38, and it definitely deserves that rank. As you can see, it is great on the hairpin, indoor karting, and slalom. If I remember correctly, I believe it is the best rare that you can use for the hairpin road, if I remember correctly, beating out cars like the RQ39s, you know, the Janettas, the Vauxhalls, the Dodge Demon Roadster, the Mazda BBR. Very impressive stuff, considering that this thing used to literally be a uncommon, right? And here it is on the upper echelon of rares, and it is still such an absolute beast. So what a great car this thing is. Great on slalom, great on hairpin, fantastic. Moving on to another car which I believe to be a great little addition to the Epic collection is the BMW M5. Now, much like, and I believe this is the F10 M5 maybe, but much like the Peugeot, it used to be an Epic, it went down to an ultra rare, and within its entire stint as an ultra rare, it was completely dominant, went back up to Epic, and nobody bat an eye. This is a wonderful car. It's one where, like, I wouldn't mind maxing out. I know it's one of the cars that I believe you can use for the Filberto collection right now, but the Filberto collection is terrible. I hate it, and I don't want to use it. So, you know, the M5 is fantastic, though. For an RQ71, it's great. Some people might argue that RQ71 is a little bit too high. It went from 64 to 71. I can kind of agree with that. I feel like it could be a 70. That being said, it's beating out other 71s and even the 72 BMW M6. Looking at its half mile time in particular, very, very strong, beating things like the Holden Fiji, the Mira P400, which is a prize car, I believe, the Roof BTR2, the Mercedes Vision 6, which has like 89 MRA and a very low 0 to 60. So the M5 is fantastic. 0 to 100, 0 to 120, 0 to 150, hill climb. It's even beating out this RQ72 M6, as I mentioned earlier, right, with 96 MRA, right? So I gotta say, man, the M5 is a very, very good car, and it definitely deserves to be an Epic. Moving on, the Renault DeZir. Now this one, we go way back, PL10. So the Renault DeZir, this is a very, very old car. It's got a lot of changes, rarity changes, stat changes, photo changes. Had to include the old photo here, that old Renault DeZir photo with the old base stats. Used to be 5086. Now you can get it for 4786. The Renault DeZir has gone through a lot, right? So it used to be a super rare, it went up to an ultra rare. I think it was like an RQ52 for the longest time. Or maybe even a 55, I think it was, and then they got a stat change. The 0 to 60 was lowered from 5 seconds to 4.7 seconds, and now it's an RQ59. So it is a fantastic car. Just look at all these cars, by the way, from the PL10 rarity change. How many of them have remained that way? So the DeZir is still an Ultra. The Renault Sport is still an Ultra. I believe this BMW is still an Ultra Rare, even though I don't think it deserves to be there. The Mirai went up to Epic, went back down. The El Mirage went up to Epic. It has stayed there because it also went medium ground clearance, I believe. This is now a super rare. These two are rares. This Suzuki actually went up to super and went back down to rare. And the Renault Alaskan, I honestly forget where the Renault Alaskan is, honestly. I think it's a super rare. I think it still is a super rare. But anyway, the Renault DeZir, fantastic car. I mean, what can I say? It definitely deserves its place as an ultra rare. It still is a Blossom choice. Very, very good car. Even though things like the Nissan Soros Jr. have been introduced to the game, it has withstood the test of time. Think about it. The DeZir is one of the oldest cars. Every car that you see below the DeZir was added after the DeZir. And the DeZir is still here. It's still kicking. And it's still one of the best cars that you can use. It's crazy, right? The Gioletta, the Clio Cup car. Okay, Clio Cup car came in the same update, but the Gioletta, the Soros, the MX-5 Cup, the G60, all these cars came after the DeZir, right? They all tried to beat the DeZir in many places, but the DeZir is still a very, very good car to use. So definitely a fantastic ultra rare. Shouldn't be a super rare. Moving on is the Citroen Visa at 1000 Pistis. Used to be an ultra rare, went up to epic. Definitely deserves its place, even as an RQ71. It's beating out, 79, 75s on G-Force slalom. You just gotta know where to use it, and this really is just utilizing its lightweight, right? Using on a G-Force, on a slalom, it is fantastic. Moving on, we've got the Caterham Superlight R500. This one, I'm sure the real OGs will know, used to be an epic back in the day, right? Used to be an epic. Went up to legendary, and I think to no surprise, it is a fantastic car for G-Force, indoor karting, and the slaloms, right? That very infamous time of 25.75 used to live rent-free in many people's heads because it was just that damn good. Even in this comparison within cars within its RQ of 84, 82, it is still like an entire second faster than everything else here. So yeah, the Caterham Superlight R500 is a fantastic little beast. One car that I do want to give an honorable mention to is the Mazda Furai, because I did not put the Mazda Furai in this video. So again, this isn't the entire list, but if you want to add some of your own, ideas or your own honorable mentions, let me know down in the comments below as well. Obviously, I didn't add every single car that deserves to be here. Moving on is the Maybach 57S. Much like the DeZir, it has gone through photo changes and rarity changes. I think the stats have stayed more or less the same. The Maybach here, this is the old photo, if you guys remember this one, and then this is the new photo, and then it became an ultra rare, and then they realized, oh wait a minute, the Maybach is actually fantastic, and they moved it up to an epic. Again, it is a fantastic car within its niche. Standard tire drags, as you can see. It is great for the half mile, the 1 mile, the test bowl, 0 to 100 and 0 to 150, beating out ultra rares and even legendaries, okay, beating that RQ85 Volvo hiding back there. But then again, this was a curated search. The Volvo is here because it's a very low 0 to 60, but it has no MRA. There are legendary BMWs that will beat the Mercedes-Benz, but those are legendary BMWs. You will expect them to, especially when they're fully upgraded. That being said, the Mercedes-Benz, the Maybach, fantastic, beating out, even the Cadillac Lyric, right? So, very impressive stuff. Now, last but not least, just to wrap it all up, much like how the Honda Legend was one of the biggest disappointments from a Rarity upgrade, the Lancia 037 was honestly one of the best ones. It is still a very, very, very useful car in my garage. This used to be an RQ63 Ultra Rare, and it's moved up to an Epic, and it is still absolutely wonderful. Look how dominant this is. Again, I'm just showing you a snippet. I'm not showing you how it performs on the snow. I'm not showing you how it performs on the dirt dry, but like I said, this really isn't a video about highlighting the car's full performance. It's just telling you that it went up in rarity and it deserves to be there. It's beating out cars that kind of came up in the same time. When the Lancia went up to an Epic, so that the Porsche and the Nissan and the Silvia, so I wanted to include all of them, but it's also beating out some of the new guys with higher RQ, like the Ford Escort and the Mazda RX-7. So overall, very, very impressive stuff. Let me know down in the comments below which was your favorite upgrade and which is your favorite car from those that were given the upgrade, right? I think every single one that was notified here, that was highlighted here, definitely deserved that rank up. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for today. I hope you guys have a great day. I'm going to stay safe, wash your hands, and blossom out. Peace.
Bro, this song just makes me so happy.
Me too. Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Sit back, relax in my Bonneville Pontiac. Hold tight all night, cruise to Jacksonville.